Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, A Tale of Rebellion, and Revelation. Chapter 1, The Longest Summer. The hottest day of the summer so far was drawing to a close, and a drowsy silence lay over the large, square houses of Privet Drive. In the last couple of years, the neat gardens of Number 4 had become rather overgrown, a reflection of the turmoil in the mind of the skinny, black-haired teenager who lived there. Harry Potter lay flat on his back in a flower bed beneath the living room window, his body tense, his eyes fixed on a spot in the starry sky. For weeks, he had been scouring the Muggle news for any sign of Voldemort's return, any hint of strange occurrences that the non-magical community might have noticed, but there was nothing, and the silence was maddening. The sound of a television floated out of the open window behind him, carrying snippets of a news report. The public is warned that Black is armed and extremely dangerous. A special hotline has been set up, and any sighting of Black should be reported immediately. Harry's heart leaped. For a wild moment, he thought they were talking about Sirius, his godfather. But no, this was a Muggle news report. They couldn't be referring to the wizarding world's most famous escaped prisoner. As the news concluded with no mention of unexplained deaths or strange occurrences, Harry sighed in frustration. He extracted himself from beneath the hydrangea bush, his joints cracking as he stood. At almost 15, he had grown several inches over the past year, his frame lanky and awkward. The isolation of the past month had been nearly unbearable. Cut off from the wizarding world, with only vague, unsatisfying letters from Ron and Hermione, Harry felt more alone than ever. They wrote about being together, hinting at some secret mission, but never giving him any real information. It was as if they had forgotten the danger he had faced, the death he had witnessed. As twilight deepened into true night, Harry made his way back into the house, careful to avoid his Aunt Petunia's prized begonias. The Dursleys were gathered around the television, engrossed in a quiz show. None of them looked up as he entered. "I'm going to bed," Harry announced to the room at large. There was no response. Trudging up to his bedroom, Harry's mind wandered to the events at the end of the Triwizard Tournament. The memory of Cedric Diggory's lifeless eyes staring up at him, the cold, high laugh of Lord Voldemort, the circle of Death Eaters closing in these images haunted his dreams nightly. He flopped onto his bed, staring at the ceiling. The crack that had been there since he could remember seemed to mock him, a physical representation of how his world had been split apart. Everything had changed, yet here he was, stuck in the Muggle world, as if nothing had happened. A soft hoot from the corner drew his attention. Hedwig, his snowy owl, peered at him from her cage, her amber eyes full of concern. "I know, girl," Harry murmured. "I miss them too." As he drifted off to sleep, Harry couldn't shake the feeling that something was coming. The calm of Privet Drive felt like the eye of a storm, and he knew that sooner or later the tempest would break. Chapter 2, The Dementor's Kiss. Days passed in a haze of sweltering heat and mounting frustration. Harry found himself wandering the streets of Little, winging more and more, desperate to escape the suffocating atmosphere of Number 4, Privet Drive. On one such evening, as the sun began to set, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, Harry found himself in the play park on Magnolia Road. The swings creaked gently in the warm breeze, a melancholy sound that matched his mood. As he sat on the only swing Dudley and his gang hadn't yet managed to break, Harry's thoughts drifted to Hogwarts. Would he ever see the castle again? The thought of being expelled, of having his wand snapped, filled him with a cold dread that even the summer heat couldn't dispel. The sound of raucous laughter broke through his reverie. Dudley and his gang were making their way down the street, shoving each other and boasting loudly about their latest exploits. Harry tensed, ready for confrontation. But to his surprise, the group began to disperse. "See you tomorrow, bigoted," called Piers Polkiss, Dudley's best friend and fellow bully. As Dudley made his way past the play park, Harry couldn't resist the urge to needle his cousin. "Hey, bigoted," he called out, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "Beat up another 10-year-old today?" Dudley's piggy eyes narrowed. "This one deserved it," he grunted. 5 against 1. Very brave," said Harry, standing up from the swing. "But I guess if you need your friends to help you tie your shoelaces." Dudley's face contorted with rage, his meaty fists clenching at his sides. But before he could retort, an unnatural chill swept over the park. The warmth of the summer evening vanished in an instant, replaced by a bone-deep cold that Harry recognized all too well. The street lamps flickered and went out, plunging them into darkness. In the distance, a dog began to howl. "What are you doing?" Dudley stammered, fear replacing anger in his voice. "Stop it!" "I'm not doing anything," Harry hissed, his hand instinctively reaching for his wand. "Shut up and don't move." But Dudley, panicking, turned to run. In the darkness, he collided with Harry, sending them both sprawling to the ground. And then Harry saw it, a towering, hooded figure, gliding towards them, its rattling breath filling the air. "A Dementor, here in Little Winging." "Dudley, whatever you do, keep your mouth shut," Harry yelled, scrambling to his feet and drawing his wand. The Dementor bore down on them, its rotting, scabbed hands reaching out. Harry could feel the happiness being sucked out of him, replaced by his worst memories: Cedric's death, Voldemort's rebirth, his parents' screams. "Expecto Patronum," Harry shouted, but only a feeble wisp of silver emerged from his wand. The Dementor was upon them now, its hood lowering towards Dudley's face. Summoning every happy thought he could muster, Harry raised his wand again. "Expecto Patronum." This time, a brilliant silver stag erupted from the tip of his wand. It charged the Dementor, driving it back. Harry wheeled around to see a second Dementor advancing on him. The stag wheeled around and charged again, its antlers catching the second Dementor in the place where its heart should have been. As quickly as they had appeared, the Dementors vanished, taking the unnatural cold with them. The street lamps flickered back to life, bathing the street in an orange glow. Dudley lay on the ground, whimpering and shaking. Harry knelt beside him, relief washing over him as he realized his cousin hadn't been kissed. But the relief was short-lived, as the implications of what had just happened began to sink in. He had performed magic outside of school, in front of a Muggle. The statute of secrecy had been broken. And more importantly, why were there Dementors in Little Winging? Who had sent them? As Harry helped a shell-shocked Dudley to his feet, he knew that his world had just been turned upside down once again. The calm of the summer had been shattered, and the storm he had been dreading had finally broken. Chapter 3: The Advance Guard. The days following the Dementor attack were some of the most tense Harry had ever experienced at Privet Drive. A flurry of owls had arrived in quick succession. His expulsion notice, a hasty retraction from Weasley, a howler for Aunt Petunia, and finally a letter from Sirius, urging him to stay put and not do anything rash. The Dursleys, terrified by the magical intrusion into their orderly lives, had retreated into a stony silence. Uncle Vernon's face cycled through various shades of purple whenever he glanced at Harry. but he said nothing. Aunt Petunia seemed oddly preoccupied, shooting furtive glances at the windows, as if expecting more owls to arrive at any moment. On the fourth night after the attack, Harry lay on his bed, staring at the ceiling. The crack that had always been there seemed to have grown, spreading like a web across the plaster. It mirrored the fractures he felt in his own life, his connection to the magical world, splintering under the weight of silence and isolation. A loud crack from downstairs jolted him upright. It sounded like someone apparating. Heart pounding, Harry grabbed his wand from the bedside table and crept towards the door. "Lower your wand, boy, before you take someone's eye out," growled a low voice from the darkness of the landing. "Professor Moody?" Harry said uncertainly. "I don't know so much about Professor," the voice replied. "Never got round to much teaching." "Did I? Get down here. We want to see you properly." Harry descended the stairs cautiously, his wand still raised. In the living room, he found a most unexpected sight. A group of witches and wizards stood there, their wands illuminating the room with a soft glow. He recognized a few faces: Remus Lupin, looking as shabby and tired as ever, and the real Madame Moody, his magical eyes swiveling wildly. Harry, a young witch with a heart-shaped face and vibrant pink hair, stepped forward. "You look just like I thought you would. Watcher, Harry. I see what you mean." "Remus," said a bald black wizard standing nearest the back door. "He looks exactly like James." "Except the eyes," said a wheezy-voiced, silver-haired wizard at the back. "Lily's eyes." Madame Moody, who had been examining Harry with his magical eye, spoke gruffly. "Are you quite sure it's him, Lupin? It'd be a nice lookout if we bring back some Death Eater impersonating him. We ought to ask him something only the real Potter would know. Unless anyone brought any Veritaserum?"